Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show today, guys. What a huge win that has just happened for Trump that is pertaining to the budget reconciliation as well as the SAVE Act. Guys, this is coming out this week. The bill requiring voter ID for all federal elections. This changes everything. Dozens of House Democrats came out today and have pledged to vote against the SAVE Act because we know the only way they know how to win an election is by bringing in illegals to fudge the numbers, and that's what Trump is stopping today. Explicitly coming out saying forever, moving forward, the elections will forever be changed. No more of non-verifiable votes will be counted. So one of the biggest things that has happened today, because of what was found over the weekend, all Social Security numbers are being re-verified for all citizens. There will be a purge of any non-citizen from the system. They are purging anybody that is older than 120 years old. A lot of the so-called votes that have been found that were fraudulent were used with people that were deceased, people that were under the age of 18, and there has been a huge fraud that has happened within our vote elections at the federal level. And now all that is changing. Cleaning up the system is what Trump said is going to ensure a free and fair election, because a lot of MAGA supporters, guys, are calling for a 2028 Vance Trump ticket. We're going to show you the receipts in a moment, guys. This is big. Where Vance could resign, making Trump the president. This is as monumental and as big as it could ever be. And if things happen, there's other things where even Obama, guys, could run as a third term, and Trump said he would love to run against Obama for a third term as president. We'll get into that in just a moment. But also, again, they just found, guy, the Doge team is kicking butt right now. They just found $4.3 billion in forgotten COVID cash. Trump's big Doge finding has found that this $4.3 billion was a dormant pandemic fund that nobody was using and nobody was keeping track of. Money was flowing out of it with no receipts whatsoever. You cannot tell me, with all this evidence that we have found, that people in the political arena were not stealing from these funds. Receipts of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and nobody knows where it went to. Now that Doge has done that, they have clawed back this $4.3 billion on top of another $1.4 billion that they are sending directly to the Treasury, and $2.9 billion that they are just taking off the books of money that was allocated to be spent. Huge wins for the Doge team, guys. Another thing, this is actually bad news. The Ninth Circuit has just blocked President Trump's executive order of removing transgender troops from the military after they are medically disqualified. So again, we're in the era of we don't know who's running the country, because if every single district court judge can just sign a temporary restraining order against the United States sitting president, we don't have a president. We have judges that are controlling this nation. But guys, the gravy train is stopped. We've got more details on what we were showing you earlier, and you're going to love it. I want to say thank you to everybody that is watching, to all of our subscribers, guys. Thank you so much for your support. And to those that are not subscribed, if you would consider joining our family, the TrueLife News family, we want to serve you every day with the top news. We're here to bring you the truth. We're here to show you all the facts, all the receipts, so that you are fully informed. And want to say thank you to everybody that is a member of the channel. Remember, we use this and we give back to charities once a month, live on stream. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation. Want to give some love to Celestino Marina. Y'all show Celestino some love in the chat. We have so much going on right now, guys. So much. If you don't mind doing us a huge favor of hitting that thumbs up like button, we really appreciate it so much. But right now, guys, you're about to see even more details on this whole fraudulent, just USAID money slush fund for the Democrats has dried up. Check this out.
You know why D.C. is freaking out over Elon Musk? You know the real reason they hate him and his quest for transparency? This is why.
Let's just say that there's a lot of strangely wealthy members of Congress where I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich while earning, how'd they get 20 million if they're earning 200,000 a year? It sounds, nobody can explain that.
Ruh-roh. Someone hit a nerve, and that is why they are freaking out. We have seen all the movies where they talk about all the money that's getting moved around the government to fund all kinds of ridiculous things.
I don't understand. Where does all this come from? How do you get funding for something like this? Well, you don't actually think they spend $20,000 on a hammer, $30,000 on a toilet seat, do you?
Independence Day is fiction. This is not fiction, it's real.
Yes, it is.
And you know who makes the most? Who makes out the absolute most on this? The people who make those toilet seats and the hammers that live in and around D.C., the consultants for the creation of the hammers and the toilet seats, the lobbyists who are hired by the hammer company. They go to congressmen's fundraisers in D.C., who host senators at their golf clubs and high-end restaurants in and around D.C. This is how it works, unfortunately. On everything, in every industry, in and around D.C., nearly everyone with a meaningful input in and around the Beltway is getting rich off our tax dollars, and I'm going to prove it to you.
Boom.
Did you know that 7 out of 10 of the wealthiest counties in America are around D.C. and the Beltway? It's been this way for 3 decades. The wealth has soared disproportionately, unlike anything anywhere else in America, and it really accelerated right around the time the Iraq War started, ironically enough. Weird, right? Here's how it works. Company A really wants a tax break for their specific product because it's essential to industry X, Y, or Z. Maybe they would like a government contract to produce whatever the heck they produce. Oh, I don't know, maybe a vaccine, like body armor, microchips, fighter jets, N95 masks, whatever, just pick one. They hire a lobbyist on K Street that plays golf with the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, and voila! The next defense spending bill gives that contract to that defense company, the F-35 program. That's a $1.7 trillion program for Lockheed Martin. How'd that happen? Their CEO getting taxpayer dollars. Almost $23 million in total comp in 2023.
Wow.
A little quick math here, just so you realize how much that is. The average middle-class American household pays about $18,000 in taxes. And since Lockheed gets 75% of their funding from U.S. government contracts, that's funded by you and I. That means the CEO of Lockheed Martin's salary consisted of the total amount of taxes from 1,200 middle-class families, all of it. Your blood boiling yet? Hold my beer. Let's say you work for a pharmaceutical company, maybe at the beginning of COVID, say. You sent your lobbyist to go see Fauci, or even state and local governments, which are far less expensive, and in this case, far more lucrative, we'll say, investments. Here, Forbes' 40 new billionaires were created during COVID, many in the hand sanitizer, mask, and pharmaceutical industry.
Wow.
Or let's just say you own, I don't know, we're spitballing here, a microchip company. You pay lobbyists millions of dollars to go schmooze with a bunch of congressmen. I'm not saying this happened, but, oh, could you imagine if it did? Now, these companies can't outright pay a politician to make something a law or allocate money for that cause. No. That would actually be illegal. That would also be immoral. But let's just say, I don't know, a little named company, I'm just going to make one up here, NVIDIA. Met with a lobbyist who then met with some congressmen, and all of a sudden there was a weird coincidence where a bunch of congressmen bought this stock. In fact, it is the largest single stock held by congressmen. And then miraculously, a $280 billion bill gets passed that pumps money into chip companies. So strange, right? And then the stock suddenly shoots up. I mean, what a coincidence. And since one...
Again, guys, nothing is by coincidence. This a reason why people want to be politicians. There's a reason why they make $170,000 a year. How are they worth $20 million and they're 35, 36 years old? No way that happens. But what you do notice is that as soon as they get into Congress, they start investing a lot of money. And before you know it, stuff like this happens. Guys, I'm about to show you what's next after this of why Elon Musk is going after this. There's no way this is right. These people are only serving themselves, and they're getting rich off of our tax dollars.
Nobody seems to even care or get prosecuted for this. And two, the Stock Act of 2012
Man, if you appreciate this, guys, if you appreciate the exposure of all this corruption, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
It requires disclosure 45 days after they buy the stock. It's not insider trading, right? Well, it kind of is, but not really, because Congress gets away with everything. Don't be fooled by this. This is both parties with top earners making 50, 60. One guy last year made 2023, 238% revenue on his portfolio, 10 times better than the return of the S&P. Nothing to see here. That's why they're angry at Elon. Also, if you don't like the market, there's a way easier way to launder money, let's just say. These congressmen can get donations from all these companies, big pharma, defense companies, tech companies. You know, in fact, according to The Hill, while COVID hysteria was being ramped up, big pharma was a major donor to over 2/3 of Congress. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars. Congressional campaign accounts garner millions of dollars each. Ironically, they all legislated big COVID contracts too. Weird, huh? But since it would be bad optics and even illegal in many cases for a candidate to take the money out of their campaign account and give it to themselves, no problem. If you're Maxine Waters, just have your daughter open a consulting firm and pay her $1 million.
Wow.
Or if you're Cori Bush, pay your husband $135,000 to be your security. I mean, silly Americans. They write the laws. They always give themselves an out somehow. But since the media has basically not provided any scrutiny for this, at least the legacy media, even when they do these brazen things, they have gotten even bolder. Elon lined this out.
There is a massive amount of corruption, but it is circuitous. So what happens is there's money that, obviously it's your taxpayer money, that is then sent to various government organizations who then send it to NGOs, which an NGO is a non-governmental organization, but obviously if it's a government-funded non-governmental organization, it's just an organization, it's just a government. And effectively there's a giant fraud loophole, which is that the government can send money to an NGO that is then no longer governed by the laws of the United States. So they'll send the money overseas to one NGO, then they'll go through a bunch of them, and then I'm highly confident that a bunch of that money then comes back to the United States and lands in the pockets of the people you just mentioned.
Ugh.
I mean, nobody else can explain that, but when you challenge it, they all freak out. Oh, no, we're not doing that, and you get called a tinfoil hat guy. Now, look, how did Nancy Pelosi, who her and her husband were worth maybe a few $1 million in 1987, they're worth over $200 million now. Mitch McConnell, this guy has...
Guys, look at, if you just do the math, if you take the salary of Nancy Pelosi, $223,000, and if she just purely took that home, paid no taxes, no health care, never paid for anything in her entire life, and she worked for 50 years, guys, 50 years, she would only have $10 million if she saved every single penny she ever earned. Now, I know you can go and invest and do this at 10%, but there's no way on God's green earth you get from $223,000 to $202 million, honestly, like this.
Ever had a salary or any type of income over $200,000 a year. Yet he is worth $34 million. If he had saved everything he had ever made, every single penny, he still wouldn't have accrued that kind of cash. But he did. Chuck Schumer, he's worth $75 million. Elizabeth Warren is literally a socialist. She's worth $67 million. Obama went into the White House essentially with no notable net worth whatsoever, and now he's worth $70 million with houses in D.C., Martha's Vineyard, and we're talking like MTV crib-style houses. This is why they hate Trump and Elon, because they are calling out the fact that USAID spent over $100 million on 104 wells in Africa, and nonprofits are doing them for $9,000 a pop.
Wow.
Why is the government spending $990,000 more per well? Is it coming back to politicians' pockets? I mean, deductive reasoning might suggest. Where do you think that money's going? They're not investing in Africa with wells. Elon's on
They just came out by the New York Post, said Elon Musk reveals Doge's new targets. Members of Congress who got strangely wealthy. There's no way. And again, guys, if there's anybody who's going to figure this crap out, it's going to be Elon Musk and the Doge team. Because guess what? While everybody is working for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, busting their butt, paying their taxes, doing what is right by their family and friends, these people took advantage of the 300 plus million people in this nation, and all they had to do, think about it, was take a penny here and a penny there. And with 300 million people, that crap adds up. It blows my mind, guys. Think about it like this. I'm just going to go ahead and do the math. We have 350 million people in the United States. If you took just 1 cent from every single person, just one penny, one measly penny from every single citizen in the United States, you'd have $3.5 million. $3.5 million. And that's what they're doing, guys. They've been taking pennies from everybody, and it's been adding up to millions. Why do you think they're so wealthy? And I don't want to hear this. No, they would never do this. You cannot be naive. Because the Democrats are losing it right now because their gravy train has stopped. Check this out.
The Democrat civil war is getting uglier by the day. Party members are firing shots at each other, pointing fingers over who is to blame for steering them straight into the woke ditch. Greasy Gavin Newsom is trying to distance himself by calling his own party toxic.
We talk down to people, we talk past people. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now.
The Democratic Party brand is really
But I promise you guys, if they would have won the election, the Democratic Party would have been peachy. It's only toxic because they lost.
problematic. With all respect to my colleague from California, is associated with New York and with California, is associated with the educated elites in this country and not anymore with working people in this country.
Is the Democratic Party brand toxic right now?
Well, I think that this is not a new thing because people have policies that haven't worked for them.
Interesting. But Bill Maher wasn't going to let Gavin Newsom sweep years of woke governance under the rug.
Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it. You've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that. They've got to mature about this.
So what do you say to people who say, well, this sounds all very good, but Governor, you were the poster boy for a lot of this stuff?
And John Fetterman is once again reminding his fellow Democrats, quote, if we don't get our bleep together, then we're going to be in a permanent minority. Now, interesting about this, Katie, is the fact that you've got Gavin Newsom saying, you know, we talk down, we're toxic, we're this, we're that. But he never really identifies what it was that he was wrong about. It's this generic, we're wrong, but never identifying about what.
So if something is a certain way, the question is, well, why is it that way? And Democrats and their brand is toxic, which is good, he can admit that, because of their policy positions and their hard-fisted enforcement into people's lives on a regular basis, and the rejection of common sense and thinking that they know better than parents, than individuals to make decisions for themselves. So when it comes to actually talking about different kinds of policies Democrats could pursue, someone like Gavin Newsom doesn't want to do it because he stuck his neck out a little bit a couple weeks ago and said that boys shouldn't be in girls' sports. And all of a sudden now the far left of the party is calling for his head and not wanting to put him on the ticket for 2028. And so they have to decide if they're going to let the far left of the party hold them hostage. You've seen even the New York Times saying that the country shifted to the right, and yet still the Democrats are trying to pull to the left. There is this interesting populism that does transfer into MAGA and the Bernie Sanders AOC type crowd. And fundamentally, Democrats are better still at elections, things on our movement on the ground. For example, the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, special elections. But overall, nationally, the Democratic brand is toxic because of what they believe in and what their policies are. And if they're in this situation where they can't even talk about what they are, they're never going to be able to win those elections nationally.
So, Greg, what does it come down to? I mean, the fact that they're not willing to identify what it is that makes them toxic, I mean, is it about toxicity or is it about stupidity?
I want to go back to the Wisconsin race. No, actually, because we could talk about this toxicity stuff, but you know, they still win local races. But Gavin calling his party toxic is like Adam Levine saying Maroon 5 sucks. We agree, but you're the lead singer. I think and this is a piece of advice to Jessica. I think the Democratic Party is letting America down by not confronting the extremism head on. That's destroying the party from within. You know, we talked about the public attacks that in the A block, but you know, you attack the Jews on campus, the trans delusion stuff, but at a larger scale, you're going to let America down by not becoming a healthy, positive opposition party. I love that the right's in power, and I hope they're in power for a very long time. I think this correct.
And guys, we're going to get into it in just a moment over why it's so important that we get and win Wisconsin, because their Democrats are already planning to redraw the lines for the House seats in Wisconsin to give more seats to the Democratic Party, which would make us lose the trifecta, the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And that happens, it puts the biggest damper on Trump's agenda like nobody's business. If you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
Was long needed. It could have been, the pendulum wouldn't have had to swung so much if the Democrats weren't so crazy. But if the Dems no longer pull their own weight and sink, it's going to make it easier for Republicans to swing that pendulum even farther and farther in the opposite direction. But that's not our fault. That's on the Democrats' fart. The Democrats shrunk the size and scope of their influence by amplifying these, you know, these activist cults and these edge fantasies. It's diminished your relevance. So you have to stop championing these extreme views in order to be taken seriously. But you have another obstacle, and that is the Biden cover-up that destroyed your party's reputation and the credibility of the legacy media that backed you. So how do you come back from that? I do think you guys need like a sober intervention where you go like, okay, who are we? What are we? What are we? Imagine you live in a world where Trump doesn't exist. So you can't just say we're against that. But you have all these issues that Trump fronts, like you might even like what do you do? That's who you are. You cannot rely on defining yourself against a person.
So, Jesse, what is the answer to the question? What do they do? And, you know, you've got them all saying we're toxic, we're toxic, we're toxic, but so what?
Well, it's a good question, and Greg's right. The Democrats, Jessica's the best thing they have going.
Well, Harold, too. Don't forget Harold.
That's assumed.
Oh, Harold.
But I would say to Greg, they should become more tolerant, because it's like when I go out with friends and we're at a restaurant and we see some freaky-looking transgender person sashay by with the pink hair and the nipple rings and da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, we don't need the details.
It's part of the story.
Too much.
We don't gay bash them. We don't even say anything. We might just go, but we just let it go. And if they don't tolerate us, why are we tolerating them? I mean, you saw what happened with the police. They get screamed at. During BLM, girls were just trying to have brunch and they were getting heckled on the side of the street. Right. And so you guys were annoying already, and then COVID hits and you become super snobs, like absolute power. And it looks like you're trying to hurt us. That's how it felt. You thought we were dirty, dangerous, and dumb, and you tried to just separate yourselves from the rest of society. And then you just lost respect for the country. I remember it was like last Easter. Biden was celebrating Transgender Day on Easter weekend.
Oh,
you know, like stuff
so
like that, like
bad.
the Columbus statue. You didn't even protect it. So people think like, you really hate our country. And then they just became rude. I honestly think it's about manners. You just have to be tolerant of other people. And then it's like you just became uninteresting. Like, we don't want to even be around you guys because it didn't feel like you were interested in us. Like, you didn't care that these migrants were coming in to take our jobs, or no one could afford any food anymore, or crime was up. So, like, why should we care about you if you're not going to care about us?
Boom.
This is going to take a long time for them to recover. We should never forget what you did. And I will remind the audience every day.
Okay,
Guys,
so
and that's big because, again, too, with what you're about to see now, again, it's going to be a fight over this stupid DEI stuff. Look at this. Just happened moments ago. Judge blocks Trump's administration from firing CIA ODNI staffers who worked on DEI. So, how in the world is these departments that report to the executive branch supposed to operate in if the president of the United States cannot even fire anybody? How? This is literally mind-blowing. This is jaw-dropping. How in the world can a judge block Trump from firing somebody? Makes no sense whatsoever, especially then when they report up to him. And check this out. This is what Pam Bondi had to say, because I'm telling you, the transparency, all the videos, making sure that people see it. People know they're not playing around.
I've made it clear, if you take part in the wave of domestic terrorism against Tesla properties, we will find you, arrest you, and put you behind bars. Today, I'm proud to announce that the Department of Justice has unsealed federal charges against another Tesla attacker. We've charged Cooper Frederick in the firebombing of a Tesla dealership that occurred on March 7th in Loveland, Colorado. All of these cases are a serious threat to public safety. Therefore, there will be no negotiating. We are seeking 20 years in prison. The crime was committed in Colorado, and thanks to the great investigative work by the FBI, the defendant was arrested in Plano, Texas. Let this be a warning. You can run, but you cannot hide. Justice is coming.
Dang. Guys, that kind of gives you like chills, man. She's got that kind of like, I'm going to cut you and knock you out if things get crazy kind of look. But I'm happy for it because, again, people are so fed up that this is what they want, everybody. Thank you so much, Judy Lynn, for the super chat. Let's go. Said 2 Chronicles 7:14 states that if God's people humble themselves, pray, seek his face, and turn from their wicked ways, he will hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land. Amen. I love it. Y'all show Judy Lynn some love in the chat. Guys, look at this. MAGA supporters are calling for a 2028 Vance Trump ticket where Vance could resign, making Trump president. I'm telling you guys, this next election is going to get crazy. And you know that we're going to be here for it. But what I love is, again, it's always about the transparency. When we know more, we're more informed and we can do more and we can hold them accountable. That's what's super important about this whole movement. And it's not just coming from one person, it's coming from Trump's entire team. Guys, this is amazing. Listen to this.
And if the Supreme Court is able to redraw the districts, they will gerrymander the districts and deprive Wisconsin of 2 House seats on the Republican side. Yeah, exactly. The result of that could be that the House switches to a Democratic House. Yes, indeed. And then they will try to stop all of the government reforms that we're doing, and we're getting done for you, the American people. So. So the reforms that we're getting done in DC, thanks to President Trump and his great team, are really profound. Really, the goal is very simple: is to restore merit and freedom. So that's what it comes down to. So America is the land of freedom and opportunity. So we want to restore individual freedoms, freedom of speech, just in general, get the government off your back. And then make sure that you succeed in the United States as a function of your hard work and your talent, and nothing else.
Let's go.
So these are really noble and important principles, and also, and I'll talk more about this, all night really, as long as you guys want to hear about it. But as you may have seen with stuff that we've posted on the Doge.gov website and the Doge handle on the X platform, there is a tremendous amount of waste and fraud in the federal government. Like, shocking, really. It's insane. Yeah, it's really wild. So, I mean, it was inevitable that at least a few Soros operatives would be in the audience. Give my regards to George. Say hi to George from me.
Guys, he was being heckled.
USA, 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 USA. Yep. I mean, it was inevitable. I was waiting for that one. So, I mean, yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, isn't it shocking how much violence and hatred is coming from the left? I mean, isn't it supposed to be the party they claim to be the party of empathy, and yet they're burning Teslas and shooting up dealerships and calling for the death of the president and me? I'm like, guys, this is insane. Like, they're gone psycho. I mean, it's really like, I totally understand if somebody doesn't want to buy a product. Yeah, it's up to you. It's a free country, but you don't have to burn it down. Okay. But that's somebody else's car. Leave it alone. Thanks, guys. Where?
Guys, and I have to say this too. Elon Musk is not one of the most well-spoken persons, but what I love is he still gets out there and speaks and lets you know what the heck is going on. If you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, so, man, the derangement level on the left is just like, it's blown my mind, frankly. I mean, I'm like, what is going on? They've just lost it next level. I'm like, it's like, whoa. And I sort of wonder the legacy media is in part to blame for this, and maybe primarily to blame for this, because, it's really terrible. It's like, if they keep calling, they've obviously called President Trump every name in the book. I think there was one article that called the president worse than Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin combined. I'm like, President Trump's not killed anyone. In fact, he's very good at stopping wars, not starting them. So, we're really very different. Maybe we need to add some more history lessons back in schools. Because I don't know if people understand, what the difference. Do they know what Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin did? It seems they don't. I mean, it's just indicative of the poor quality of education pushed by the National Department of Education. So, that's why we want to restore freedom to the states, let the states decide on the educational agenda and not have something pushed by a bunch of neo-Marxists in D.C.
Dang!
So, I mean, it is astounding how much anti-American propaganda is pushed on kids today in schools. It's mind-blowing. It's like, what the hell's going on, So, anyway. But on a more positive note, we have this petition sort of against activist judges, because judges should be simply interpreting the law, not making the law. So, in appreciation for the support of people in signing this petition against activist judges, we just want judges to be judges, which is a reasonable thing to ask for. And we're obviously seeing like some crazy stuff in D.C. where it seems like it's like any federal judge can stop any action by the president, of the United States. This is insane. Like this has got to stop. It's got to stop at the federal level and at the state level.
Guys, and that's what they're working on, guys. And that's what I love is that it's, again, too, it's not just for the Republican side. It's for everybody. Because nowhere is it right that at any point in time, any judge can control a sitting president. Especially with these TROs, is what they call them, temporary restraining order. And then the president, if they don't listen, it's so weird. They have to pay a fine. They can be put into jail. Like, that's how bad it is. Want to say, guys, look at this. $4.3 billion. Let me see if I can blow it. Yeah, right there. $4.3 billion of COVID-era funds remained unused and mostly dormant. 4.3 billion, guys. Give this back to the people. But this is what they did. They took it. They took this $4.3 billion. They set it to the side and said, oh, it was for COVID, but if we need it for something else, we'll just reallocate it in the future if we need to for one of our agendas. This is literally what they've been doing, guys. This is so corrupt. I'm glad that they find it. If we did not have Doge, think about it. This would still be dormant. People would still be just misusing the system. And it sucks because, again, what can the average American do? Because, guys, it just hasn't been the Democrats. Republicans have been in this crap too of just abusing the system and all this. And I'm so glad I get to report this too as well. For the past 4 weeks, Social Security has been executing a major cleanup of their records. Approximately 9.9 million number holders, all listed age 120 plus, now have been marked as deceased. Another 2 million to go. Who was using all those Social Security numbers? Getting benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, gaming the system, scammers, people overseas, and now they won't be able to because it's actually going to be cleaned up. How amazing is that? That's what I love, is it's accountability. It's actually doing something that's going to affect the American people. Besides, remember, with politicians, it's always promises, and then nothing ever happens. We're actually seeing Doge do things for once in Washington, D.C.'s life. That's how amazing it is. And what I love is that, yes, everybody's going crazy over all this stuff when it comes to the cost cutting, but the Democrats, all they're doing is losing, and rightly they should. Check this out.
All Jasmine, not to be confused with Davy Crockett, wanted for her birthday was a big Tesla takedown. Did Jazzy's wish come true?
Yeah, I don't know what the crap that is.
Couple of bad dance moves isn't what you call a takedown. Hundreds of protesters popped up at Tesla showrooms over the weekend. And if you were just driving through, you probably saw some signs that said, burn a Tesla. Or maybe you just got caught in traffic.
This MAGA hates us. He hates us. Let's hang him. Hi.
These people are losing it.
You touch us again, I will break you. Okay, come on, bring it on. Bring it on. Nazi. Nazi. Democracy must be protected.
Protesters were handed little chant sheets just in case they forgot what they were protesting. And at 12 o'clock on the dot, every protester in Texas just got up and left at the same time. So what's going on here? Luckily, our very own stupid son of a gun, Charlie Hurt, was there to ask them.
What's wrong with Elon Musk?
Yeah, well, first of all, he came here as an illegal alien, documented immigrants, first of all. Second of all, he's a fascist with Nazi salutes.
He's a fascist because he is blatantly trying to dismantle democracy in the U.S.
Are you concerned about waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government?
Not particularly.
Have you been on the Doge website to look at some of the waste, fraud, and abuse that they're trying to cut out?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't believe anything they would put out.
Not the brightest, but not surprising. The real resistance took place in driveways. One California man woke up and his Cybertruck smashed and slashed.
I'm totally shocked. Like you said, this is a really quiet, safe neighborhood. I'm at the top of the hill at the end of a cul-de-sac. We don't get very much traffic up here at all. They had come an hour before that, kind of staked the place out and looked around, and then came back an hour later with their rock and their tape to cover over my cameras and do their little damage show. I'm a little shooken up right now, and I'm concerned that they may possibly come back. And it's not a good feeling having a family, my family here, my young son, and very unsettling.
They said Trump brown shirts were going to go door to door terrorizing people, but it's radicals with Musk derangement syndrome.
Wow.
And it's a diverse crew. Even illegals are getting in on it. Mr. Rodriguez here got his hands on some wire cutters.
Take a look at this video now. The Brookhaven Police Department needs your help with the felony vandalism investigation. 63-year-old Osvaldo Torres Rodriguez was caught on camera vandalizing a Tesla with wire cutters Friday. As you can see, he's vandalizing the hood and the vehicle's driver's side. Torres Rodriguez has an active felony warrant and is an undocumented immigrant.
Wow. And these mostly peaceful protests are going global. A Tesla dealership in Rome was lit on fire and lost 17 cars. And it's not just Teslas. The Republican Party headquarters in New Mexico was set on fire and graffitied with ICE equals KKK. Pretty sure the KKK were the ones burning things and threatening innocent Americans, you know.
Guys, it blows my mind because we heard from all the stupid left-wing people that as soon as Trump was going to be in office, they were going to be busting down doors. They were going to be tearing things up. They were going to be breaking democracy down. What the heck is this? Is this not what they said the Republicans would do? Like, this is mind-blowing. People are losing it. They're damaging innocent people's products. A Cybertruck costs $100,000. For somebody to be able to afford that, they probably have a really good job. So that means that they're not just some bum on the street. They're actually contributing to society, paying a lot of taxes to be, I mean, if you own a Cybertruck, that means you're paying a lot in taxes because that's an expensive ride. And it's so mind-blowing that the Democrats always end up doing what they accuse the right of what they're going to do. It's always backwards, and I don't get it how people don't see this. This is straight up disgusting, guys. It blows my mind. If you appreciate this reporting, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
Like these people are. Protesters are even justifying and rationalizing their destruction on camera.
Destruction of property is a perfectly viable source of protest. No harming humans, obviously. Yeah. Human life is sacred no matter whose it is. But property these are just things. These are just cars.
These are just cars. A $100,000 Cybertruck that takes you to work, to the grocery store, and your kids to school. Kind of more than just a thing. Besides your house, it's probably your most important property. But Pam Bondi's making an example out of them. Remember Lucy, the trans Tifa who torched a few Teslas? His accomplice just got indicted and is looking at hard time.
Today, I'm proud to announce that the Department of Justice has unsealed federal charges against another Tesla attacker. We've charged Cooper Frederick in the firebombing of a Tesla dealership that occurred on March 7th in Loveland, Colorado. All of these cases are a serious threat to public safety. Therefore, there will be no negotiating. We are seeking 20 years in prison. The crime was committed in Colorado, and thanks to the great investigative work by the FBI, the defendant was arrested in Plano, Texas. Let this be a warning. You can run, but you cannot hide. Justice is coming.
Musk says it's time to arrest whoever's funding these attacks. Arresting their puppets and paid foot soldiers won't stop the violence. The world's richest man's putting everybody and everything on the line to save the country. And now he has a big fat target on his back. And we hope he stays safe.
Wow.
This weekend, he held a town hall in Green Bay. Protesters showed up in the freezing rain, but Musk left his chainsaw at home and he just showed up with a cheese hat.
Oh, gotta watch the music, guys. There's the cheese hat.
As usual, there were a few troublemakers.
It's insane. Yeah, it's really wild. So, I mean, it was inevitable that at least a few Soros operatives would be in the audience. Give my regards to George. Say hi to George from me.
Liberals used to love Elon. He voted for Barack, Hillary, and Biden. And now he thinks his old party needs therapy and a Valium.
Isn't it shocking how much violence and hatred is coming from the left? I mean, isn't it supposed to be the party that they claim to be the party of empathy? And yet they're burning Teslas and shooting up dealerships and calling for the death of the president and me. I'm like, guys, you know, this is insane. Like they're gone psycho.
The CIA director invited Musk over to visit Langley. Elon's been helpful with satellites, and he's probably spying on the Chinese for us. But the agency needs to cut the fat, too. Just hopefully the Doge boys don't look where they're not supposed to and get hurt. There's a few computers in there that we probably just shouldn't touch. But wherever he goes, he finds fraud. Elon's right-hand man just caught the government looking really shady.
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was. This is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just this literally blew us away. Like we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident.
Musk's going where no one's ever dared to go. Washington's piggy bank. Foreign nationals are stealing from it. Lawyers, bureaucrats, NGOs have all gotten caught red-handed. And like any good detective who's following the money's leading Elon right to the politicians.
Ooh!
There's a lot of strangely wealthy members of Congress where I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich while how'd they get 20 million if they're earning 200,000 a year? It sounds, nobody can explain that. So something's, yeah, we're going to try to figure it out.
Like, how does Nancy Pelosi beat the market every year? She says her husband, Paulie P, manages the money, but he's in real estate. He's not an investor. And is Nancy short Tesla? The last person who got under Nancy's skin, though, got cooed, so Elon better watch his six. Democrats don't hate Elon for going after fat. They hate him for going after their fat. But Musk's just on a mission.
If the ship of America sinks, we all sink with it. You know, this is something that I try to tell people in the sort of commercial sector that, like, you're not going to, your company's not going to make it if the ship of America sinks. We can run off to some other country and be okay. It's America, you know, I will die in America. I'm not going anywhere.
I will too.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, I might go to Mars, but that'll be part of America.
Watch Elon make it to Mars and Democrats call him a colonizer and tell him to come home. People with common sense are grateful for Musk. The astronauts are grateful for this entire administration.
I respect you. I trust you. You've given me no reason not to trust you, either one of them. What they say I can't say what they say. I haven't lived that. But I have no reason not to believe anything they say because they've earned my trust.
And Trump's grateful for his brand new Tesla.
So you recently bought a Tesla for White House staff to use, but now there's all these domestic terrorists targeting Teslas. Are the staff scared to drive it?
I don't think so. I haven't heard. They were complaining. I did buy one, and I let the staff use it. We have it parked conveniently, and one day we give it to Margot, one day we give it to Chamberlain, give it to Natalie, we give it to everybody around. We give it to Dan Scavino, but he's got so much money it doesn't matter.
It's good cop, bad cop. Elon slashing waste and firing dead weight, while Trump closes the border and brings home the bacon. America needed a turnaround artist to get this country back in gear and on solid footing for the future.
I think I'm popular because we've done a great job. I think we've had the best almost 100 days of any president, and most people are saying that. And it's an honor. We're bringing back our country. We're respected as a country again, and we're strongly respected. And people are amazed. I was with some very important people today, and they said that they've never seen a turnaround of a country as fast as this.
This country's changing so fast, we're getting whiplash. And the White House says it's all a part of March Madness.
Some will fold under the pressure, but champions thrive in the madness.
Let's
Our
go.
country will be.
This is the drive to the drive.
Watch and just enjoy the game. Just don't light anything on fire.
Guys, I'm telling you, it's like, again, we're living in history right now. Never has the Washington corruption been exposed like they're being exposed now. But again, I want to take you back to this, because this is big, guys. MAGA supporters are calling for Trump 2028 Vance Trump ticket, where Vance could resign, giving Trump another 4 years in the White House. Tell me, do you support this or not? Because again, I think they're crazy enough to do this. A lot of people say, well, he shouldn't, pass it on. I don't know, guys. Trump is that type of guy. And would I be for it? Look, I think Trump is doing a phenomenal job. I think he would do a phenomenal job in 2028. But a lot of things would have to change in order to allow him to be president. But he is not playing around, guys. This is big. Check this out.
All right, tomorrow, April Fool's Day, but President Trump says, not joking, about serving a third term.
People are asking me to run, and there's a whole story about running for a third term. I don't know. I never looked into it. They do say there's a way you can do it, but I don't know about that, but I have not looked into it. I want to do a fantastic job. We have 4 years, just about, almost close to 4 years.
Yes, heads blowing off shoulders all over the United States. Joining me now, Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor, constitutional law expert. All right, Jonathan, in an interview with NBC News, the president told your friend Kristen Welker that there are methods in which he could do this, including having J.D. Vance run, then passing the role over. Now, what is really possible? Is there any scenario other than a constitutional amendment under which the president could serve basically a third term?
Well, there's also entering a parallel universe and coming back. These are all possibilities, but not very likely. You know, this is a president who loves to give a snake in a can to the media just to watch them open it. And he's doing that. This is another jump scare that has just lit up the internet. This has been long a parlor game among presidents, whether you could get around, any president get around the 22nd Amendment. The problem is the 22nd Amendment is pretty clear. I mean, some people have argued that because the 22nd Amendment refers to someone who was twice elected, that only applies to people who run for the office, not serve those terms. That seems a rather large stretch. But the problem is to do that. It's called a handoff scenario where you have someone like Vance get elected, then he hands it back to Trump, is that in order to be vice president under the 12th Amendment, you have to be eligible to be president. And the problem is that you're not if you've been elected twice. So you'd have trouble being a vice presidential candidate.
Oh, that's a good point.
Which means that many states would keep you off the ballot. But there's also a cost to this that may not be fair to people like Vance or others who are going to run, and that all of this talk tends to diminish them. Part of Trump's legacy will be securing the White House for a Republican, and this type of talk reduces figures like Vance to sort of mini-me's, and that's not a good thing for them. It's not fair to people like Vance. So, this does appear something of a jump scare, but with the exception of amending the Constitution, it does not seem particularly credible.
Well, Professor, it seems like, again, he loves to tweak and tease and kind of get them a shiny object over here, and they'll run to that. But it plays into their tired refrain of Trump as the autocrat, Trump as the king. I mean, he is a duly elected president of the United States, but it plays into their narrative. That's all I'll say about that. So probably good to leave that to rest. And you're right. I think part of his amazing legacy will be the incredible cabinet he's had and J.D. Vance. I mean, that's an incredible legacy. 3 years from now, we'll see how that all plays out.
Guys, I'm telling you, regardless of who runs, they're going to do well. I mean, because Trump is laying down such a amazing foundation with the MAGA First policies and whatnot. It's just blowing everybody's mind. But this right here is the problem. Ninth Circuit just blocked Trump from removing transgender troops from the military after they are medically disqualified. Here's the actual file TRO, guys. This is going through the appeals court. And what blows my mind is that once it reaches the appeals court, then if they want to escalate it, it goes to the Supreme Court. And remember, the Supreme Court only takes a certain number of cases per year. There's no way they can handle all the injunctions that are coming against Trump. So this is, again, it's literally, they couldn't stop him with the vote. Not they, but there was people that tried to assassinate him to stop him. They tried to put him in jail, and now they have the judges that are fighting Trump, even in office. Literally makes no sense. But I want to say thank you so much, The One Legacy, for the super chat. Let's go. Say, hey, Joel, can't get a super. Let's go. Hey, y'all show The One Legacy some love in the chat. The biggest thing is that, again, as Trump makes his moves, the biggest thing next, guys, is that over the budget reconciliation, because all these legal problems are adding up. What's going to happen next? Because Doge is trying to clean house. The Democrats are trying to stop them. This is actually big news that's kind of happening behind the scenes where the Department of Justice is getting involved, and we have to figure out who's really running the country. Check this out.
I want to bring in Ohio Congressman Warren Davidson. Congressman, it's always great to talk with you. And I want to get your reaction to Doge digging in further to these agencies. To be clear, Ratcliffe actually invited the Doge team. I mean, they're asking for them to come in and look at what I just mentioned, which is inefficiency, in particular, the technology inefficiencies that they've been finding so far.
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. It's always an honor to join you. And look, the great news is the Director Ratcliffe at the CIA is inviting Doge in. And this is a little bit like if you were at a company and you've got a new CFO, Chief Financial Officer, a new CTO or Chief Information Officer, and then saying, well, they can't have access to all the system. Like, are you kidding me? No, we brought the team in. We have a new leadership team, new CEO, President Trump. He's bringing his team in, and he wants to look at the full system. And the system is rigged. You see how it's rigged against the American people over and over again. And when I'm back home talking to my constituents, they're way more upset about what's been happening with their money than the idea that Elon Musk and his team are the ones accessing it. I thought Brett Baer did a phenomenal job highlighting these aren't like, high school kids that are at some hackathon. These are really successful people who are using their talent really to serve our country.
Well, I want to ask you about the messaging when it comes to Doge, because you said something really important just now. You said that when you go back home and you talk to your constituents, they support Doge. And we're seeing that in the polling that they support Doge. It seems to be how Doge is going about the work. But what they were on with Brett Baer last week, Musk said, this is direct quote, I do agree that we actually want to be careful in the cuts. We want to measure twice, if not thrice, and to cut wants. Why is that message not getting out to the American people that they are being very careful in how they carry out these cuts to funding and programs?
Well, there were some awkward first starts where, things were frozen, and these are things that we needed. Like in Ohio, we were in the middle of a bird flu epidemic, and some of the ag inspectors were held up because they were sort of temporarily approved. They were sort of like temps. They weren't hired full time. And there were little awkward missteps there. But I think go back a few Fridays ago, maybe a little over a month ago now, Susie Wiles brought the whole cabinet in and talked to the president and said, hey, we want you to work with Doge, invite them in, but either way, find ways to save the American taxpayers money and deliver on the promises I made in my campaign. And I'll be following up with Elon Musk to make sure that you guys are doing that. And here you see, secretary after secretary, and now the director of the CIA saying, please come on in and let's have a look. I think a lot of my folks in the financial services space excited about the Securities and Exchange Commission. They've been doing things like sue and settle and redistributing the money to causes that are really at odds with the direction of a strong economy. They're undermining capital formation in America instead of helping facilitate it. So you see things like that they're getting after.
And I'm sure that the critics are going to come out and start screaming with the connection between Elon Musk and the SEC because he runs publicly traded companies. But let's talk about this. So Doge has got new legal problems. You just had another judge block the Trump administration from dismantling the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Do you think that the courts are going to continue to be a problem? Or do we just need to see all of this kind of just, head to the Supreme Court, let's get it over with?
Yes.
Well, the courts are going to continue to be a problem. I mean, this is a legal strategy Mark Elias, Norm Eisen, and others on the far left crafted really in the wake of the outcome of the election. They put a team together, and that's their strategy. They know they've lost the executive branch. They know they've lost the legislative branch, but they're still digging in everywhere they have hooks in the judiciary branch. And that's why this week we're going to pass the No Rogue Rulings Act, which gets after the ability of one district judge to basically provide a nationwide injunction that shuts down the president's campaign promises, not on merit, but on activism.
Right. Well, President Trump ran on him extending his former tax policy, but he also added on the campaign trail new provisions, no tax on tips. That was very popular, in particular when he made that announcement in Nevada at the time. So what does Congress need to do to realize the provisions? Because when you extend the 2017 tax cuts, that is a hit to revenue. Obviously, that's costly. That's fair enough. But then if you add on no tax on tips, overtime, that's another popular pitch from President Trump. That's going to be up to you and your colleagues in the House to figure out the pay for. How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what this reconciliation resolution's about. You've heard the president and Speaker Johnson refer to one big, beautiful bill. Speaker Johnson's working with Leader Thune to kind of reconcile the differences between the House passed version. We passed that on February 25th. The Senate's got a version that's a little different. And we do need to move forward. But the reality is, unless Congress takes action, the American people are going to get a tax increase. And there are some people that we're counting on not just status quo taxes, but some additional cuts like no tax on tips. And look, candidly, if it's not somebody that's on my payroll, it's somebody that's a valet or a server at a restaurant, and it's not a service fee. If I give them money, it really is just a gift. There's already a $17,000 gift exemption. So we're working on legislation to treat it that way, and that kind of avoids the whole situation.
There are ways to make sure that the language in the bill actually lends itself to making this a reality, because it was definitely very popular. Before you go, I do want to ask you about this. So President Trump is reportedly aiming to sign 2 stablecoin bills by August. So first off, I want to ask, is that timeline from what you're hearing correct? And the second would be, the stablecoin would be a dollar-backed stablecoin. This is what is being reported is going to be in front of the House. And then the Genius bill, that's basically it's regulatory positives for consumers so that consumers would get priority in bankruptcies with these coins. Can you confirm any of this for us?
Well, the Senate passed a version out of their committee called the Genius Act, which Senator Haggerty led. And then the House is passing a bill called the Stable Act, which you put the two together, it'll be Stable Genius or something along those lines, and it'll regulate stable coins. And it does deal with dollar-denominated stable coins. Hopefully we'll get commodity-backed stable coins treated that way. So it's backed 1-for-1 with gold and be traded different than dollars. And we're fighting to make sure that we also protect self-custody. So there are little differences that do make a world of difference in terms of the kind of product that gets across the finish line. And really, how do we best protect the American people? But the second big bill really is a market structure bill. And that gets after how, Gary Gensler was so unpopular at the SEC, basically treating everyone in the crypto space as if they had a security. And clearly, some of those things aren't securities. And we need to get that market structure bill passed as well.
So, yeah, is it securities?
Guys, and this is, again, it's moving into the future. And I have to show you this because he mentioned this, and this is so powerful. The No Rogue Rulings Act is expected to be passed this week. This will make sure that any federal district judge cannot just come out of nowhere and try to control a sitting president. This is action. This is expected to be passed this week. We're going to keep eyes on it, guys, because it needs to happen. If not, Trump's going to have 300 federal injunctions by the time he leaves office in 2028. But want to say thank you so much, Gene Kopech, for the super chat. Let's go. Said President Trump is God's anointed and sent by God to save America. Amen. Because I'm telling you what, without him, we wouldn't know 99% of all the corruption that's been exposed in 2 months. And thank you so much, John Reppy, for the super chat. Let's go. Thank you, Joel. God bless America. Hey, God bless you, brother. Show John some love in the chat. Show Gene some love in the chat. Guys, y'all are so giving, so amazing. We couldn't do this without you guys. It's all because of you all. We bust our butts. We want to give you the best show ever, and it's all because of you. And again, too, keep you informed because this right here is big. Trump needs all the help that he can get, and getting stuff like this passed is super important. And again, right there, guys, we want that American flag to keep representing America first. We want to take care of our seniors, take care of our kids, and make sure that our tax dollars go to what's best for us as Americans. 100%. Want to say thank you to everybody who is watching, to all of our subscribers, all of our viewers. If you are not subscribed, please consider joining the True Life News family. We want to serve you every day with the top news. And thank you to our members of the channel, like John Reppy. Thank you, brother, for your support. Guys, being a member, we take this money of super chats and members and we donate it live on stream to charities, because to us, we want to make positive change in this world. And by joining with you, our membership's only 99 cents. That's for our lowest one, but we can bring a lot of people together and do some good in this world. And that's why we do that. And I just want to give some love to our members. Want to give some love to those that have given us super chats tonight. Judy Lynn Loving Spirit, Patrick, The One Legacy, Gene Kopech, John Reppy. Guys, y'all show them some love in the chat. We're so thankful for your support. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, if you haven't done so, we really appreciate your help. We just want to continue serving you all, guys. Every day we are getting amazing news over the exposure of all this corruption, and all it's doing is putting America in a better place. We are getting to actually see what is actually happening in our own country with our own money, and I love it. Appreciate you all, guys, so much. We love you all. Couldn't do this without you. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.